Hey guys. Hey guys, I am Bethany Quinn. This is Quinntersectional Conversations, and I am here today with Yasmine Arrington, who is the founder and CEO of ScholarCHIPS. I will let her say a little bit more about what her fantastic organization does. So we're going to be catching up, and while we do, I'm going to name GFC pudding. So thank you so much for joining me, Yasmine. It's really good to see you.
Thank you for having me, Bethany. It's great to see you too. I wish it was in person, but for now, this will suffice, right?
Exactly. It will have to for a bit. But how are you? How is your pandemic going?
I'm doing well. I'm grateful to be alive, as I say, and I'm grateful to be healthy. Um, this has been a very challenging season and time in my life, and I think that this can be a lot of folks kind of share my sentiment and but yeah, I started ScholarCHIPS Incorporated. ScholarCHIPS is a DC-based nonprofit. We provide college scholarships, mentoring, and a support network to youth who have incarcerated parents, inspiring them to complete their college education. So I started ScholarCHIPS back in 2010. At the time, I was a junior in high school, and we can talk more about that, but I've been basically, I founded ScholarCHIPS and I've been the executive director since 2010. Well, I started, as a volunteer. It was a passion project, and it really morphed into its own entity and its own, ecosystem.
Definitely, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit more about that. What made you decide to start this organization?
Yeah, so when I was in high school, I was always one of those students that was very active, not just in student life, but also extracurricular activities. I've always liked intellectual stimulation, and I've always liked to challenge myself. And so my peers knew that. They knew that about me, and they kept saying, they would come up to me during school and say, Yasmine, you should really apply for this program called Learn Serve International. And I had no idea what Learn Serve International was. And I went ahead and I Google searched it one day after school. And I learned that it's a program. It's also a nonprofit in DC that runs a program every year for teenagers in high schools across DC, Maryland, and Virginia, who are, leaders in their schools and communities. And they train and equip students to be social entrepreneurs and social change agents. So in the program, we had to identify an issue in our community that we wanted to see change or improve. And for me, the issue that was of a concern to me and is actually very disturbing to me is mass incarceration, but more specifically, the negative effects of the prison industrial complex. But that is such a broad issue that one person alone cannot completely deconstruct and rebuild, right? And to we talk about reimagining a different kind of justice system that's not punitive, but that's rehabilitative, right? So I had to, narrow my focus, and I narrowed my focus to the effects of parental incarceration on children and families. And, why I was so interested in that topic is because my father has been in and out of jail and prison most of my life. So, I know the emotional, mental, psychological effects, and even financial effects that having a parent in prison has on a young person. And so at the time I was researching scholarships with my grandmother, my junior year of high school, that I could apply for my senior year, so I could have the money to afford the cost of attendance for a college tuition. And well, the cost of attendance for college. And, we realized that there were no scholarships out there for youth with incarcerated parents. And there's so many different kinds of creative scholarships. So that was the aha moment. And so I just kind of merged the two ideas, you know, having this experience of having an incarcerated parent and how difficult and challenging that was, and feeling like I was alone. You know, that wasn't really something that I talked about in school. I think in America, and in a lot of cultures, you know, having a family member who's incarcerated is really not something you talk about. It's very private, it's very personal, and sometimes people don't want to be marginalized or stigmatized if they mention that their parent's incarcerated or their family member. So that, coupled with needing resources to attend college to receive a degree, so I asked, you know, I went to LearnServe and I said, my LearnServe cohort leader, I said, hey, Scott, you know, do you think, is this something I could do? Could I start a scholarship and mentorship program for for kids like me who have incarcerated parents? And the answer was yes. You know, he just said, just make sure that you, you know, create your plan, you do your research, create your plan, and differentiate yourself from all the other thousands of scholarship and mentorship programs.
Right. So how was it setting up the organization? What did the process look like?
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Bethany.
Not at all. So what were some of the biggest challenges as well?
Yeah, well, I mean, the challenges are ongoing. There's always something to solve and something to figure out, because, you know, starting it at 16 years old, I didn't have any previous experience as an executive director or leading an organization. I was a Girl Scout, but I never led an organization or actually created one from the ground up. So challenges, there have been so many. I think one of the first challenges I faced was ageism. And a lot of, you know, I had a very ambitious goal and idea from the gate. And in October of 2010, I held a kickoff event for ScholarCHIPS, which was my Girl Scout Gold Award project.
Oh, nice.
And yes. And I told the community, you know, community members came out to the event to support me. And I let them know, hey, hi, everybody. You know, I told them who I am and, you know, what I'm trying to do with ScholarCHIPS. And I let them know I want to raise $30,000 and give 3 $10,000 scholarships.
Wow.
People just were like, what? You know, and they're saying, you know, this young girl, I mean, what? I mean, I was 16 and I've always dreamed very big, and I, you know, think very big and have really big aspirations and goals. But I think people were surprised that, you know, this wasn't for me. This was a vision to help other young people to get to where they were going. But some people would say, well, you know, Yasmine, this is a great idea, but you're about to go off to college. You're probably going to forget all about this. You're going to have different experience in colleges and move on. And I was like, you know, I kind of like, really? Like, why? I was kind of shocked that even though people might have thought that some of the people actually verbalized that. So that gave me more of a determination to make this vision come to life. And I started off with, there were 3 adults in my life at the time. One of my mentors from the Abramson Foundation, which I actually met him before I got to the Abramson Foundation, which is a foundation here in DC that supports college students, and my Girl Scout troop leader and my LearnServe cohort leader. So I asked the 3 of them if they would be founding board members. And every step along the way in building up the organization, all I was doing was asking questions. I just continuously asked questions until I found the answer that I needed to get me to the next step. So for the first 3 or 4 years of ScholarCHIPS existence, we had a fiscal agent. And so LearnServe was our fiscal agent. And then during that, while LearnServe was our fiscal agent, we were able to get our incorporation and file the 50C3 papers. And fortunately, at the time, DLA Piper, LearnServe had a connection with DLA Piper, and that law firm took us on pro bono and helped us to file the papers. So that was that you know, from 2010 to 2014, that was really the beginning, and we were building the blocks of ScholarCHIPS with our bylaws. But you know, now I think one of the biggest challenges for the organization, well, there are a few, but transitioning from, so, you know, a nonprofit, I'm learning so much about the nonprofit world and the for-profit world, but nonprofits typically have different stages of growth and life of the organization, particularly when it comes to the board of directors. And so from the beginning, ScholarCHIPS has had a founding board. Now we're transitioning to like a phase 2, which is a governing board. But there are a lot of changes and things that have to be implemented and have to happen, and some shifts and transitions in order for us to really make a successful transition into a full-fledged governing board. So, you know, like it's just so many, there's so many challenges. I mean, we're in the midst of a pandemic.
Right.
You know, like the treasurer will ask me, like, Yasmine, are you, when looking at the budget, Yasmine, you know, are you confident we can raise this? And I was like, of course, you know, I've never doubted our ability to fundraise. But it's really, you know, frustrating, honestly, like being a Black woman, being a young person doing this work. It is very challenging. And while I'm grateful for the support that foundations, that some local family foundations provide, one, it's very difficult to get in the door. You know, you really, it's all about relationships. And I've always been a person that has cultivated real friendships and relationships in my life before I knew anything about donor cultivation and nonprofits and all of that. But it's, you know, it usually takes, like, depending on who you are, if you don't have the resources, if you don't have a professional grant writer, if you don't have a case statement, if you don't have certain resources, and you walk in blind, and you might apply 2, 3, or 4 times before the foundation says, you know what, we're going to give this young person, we're going to give this organization a shot. And then when you get in the door, you know, you'll be fortunate enough if you get a smaller grant. And usually the grants, they say, are based off your budget. So it's like a cycle. If you have a small budget, like I have had the vision to have over $1 million budget for scholarships for years. And we have just surpassed $200,000 in fundraising. And so for some people, you know, that's amazing. But for me, I mean, it's great, but I'm like, oh my goodness, how much more impact, how many more students can we positively impact with more resources? So I'm constantly trying to rack my brain and find resources, especially pro bono resources and in-kind resources, for scholarships to be able to continue to do the work that we do for young people who have incarcerated parents that are pursuing their college degree. Most of them are first generation college students.
That's amazing. So yeah, talk to me a little bit more. Who were some, to the extent that you're allowed to say, or, you know, generically talk about how, who are some of the students who you've been able to help?
Yeah, so, and I mean, they've all signed release forms. So,
Yeah.
You know, and they're the great. Oh yeah, no, yeah, we're protected or something. But our scholars are really, really amazing individuals. One young lady, and they're comfortable. One thing that I have really honed in on is training and helping our scholars, like giving them a platform to share their stories and empowering them to tell their stories, not necessarily as victims or looking at it through a lens of deficit, but looking at themselves as, you know, looking through themselves as assets, and that this is just one part of their story, but it's their story nonetheless. And when they tell it, they will positively impact and influence other people that they may or may not know. So anyhow, Raina Nkwano, she was one of our first, she came into our first cohort of scholars back in 2012. Just a very intelligent, a bright young woman. Her parents are from Cameroon. When she was transitioning from middle school to high school, her mother found herself in, she ended up, ultimately being charged. I don't know exactly what those charges were, related to, pharmaceuticals, or the pharmaceutical industry, and she ended up serving time. So that was a challenge definitely for Raina, because she had become accustomed to a certain lifestyle. She was accustomed to having her mother there, and now her older sister became her primary caregiver, and she had to deal with this throughout high school and some of college. She ended up attending Old Dominion University in Virginia. She got her bachelor's in public health, and then immediately after she graduated, and she graduated early, she went on to pursue her law degree. She started it at a school in Florida and transferred over to the University of Maryland, their law school. And she just graduated maybe a year and a half ago. She passed the bar exam with flying colors. Yeah, she's amazing. Her scores are high enough to transfer to other jurisdictions. I mean, and now she's been working as a law clerk for one honorable judge, I think Jill Cummings, in Maryland, and now she's transitioning to work at a law firm. So and then Durante Craig is one of our young men. Durante graduated from Morgan State University. His father has been incarcerated since his father was 23 years old. His father is now 45. His father is not due for release until 2040, at which he'll be 65 years old. So that's something that ScholarCHIPS, we're really pushing for his for a pardon for his father, because his father has shown excellent citizenship while he's been incarcerated, but he was incarcerated at 23 years old.
Yeah, seriously.
And he's not due it to, this is the whole.
The mistakes that I made at the age of 23, like, God forbid,
All of us, right? Like, I mean, anyway, where were we at 23? So.
Yeah, that was only a couple of years ago, though.
Well, it was more than a couple, but you're right. But nonetheless, who I am at 27 is a totally different person than who I was at 23.
Yeah.
So, but anyhow, Durante graduated from Morgan State University. He was voted. I mean, he's very amicable. He has one of those personalities that, you're just attracted to, very handsome. He won Mr. Morgan State University all 4 years of college. His peers voted him for 4 years. And as Mr. Morgan,
that's impressive.
Very impressive as Mr. Morgan State. I mean, they had different titles, but, basically he was Mr. Morgan State for 4 years. And then immediately after he graduated, he went on to the University of California, Irvine, to pursue he just I think, what is this, September? He received it in June of 2020, his master's in entrepreneurship and innovation. And this is one of their first.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And this is one of their first cohorts for this program. So, he's a part of that, like, groundbreaking new program or fairly new program that the University of California, Irvine has in entrepreneurship. And he's come up with his own app, and he has an entire team, and he's been pitching the idea. Like, he's going to be one of our Steve Jobs, but anyhow, I mean, these are just two stories. We have had 61 scholars thus far.
Wow.
Just welcome. Thank you. Yeah, we've just welcomed 10 new scholars this summer in July, and it's constantly growing. But the program is effective. The mentorship is invaluable. And I'm telling you, Bethany, I've been so frustrated, and I have to grow in my long suffering and my understanding that when you walk in your purpose and when you serve other people, the resources will come, the people will come, all of that. But it's just a matter of, it's a long game. It's a matter of patience. And, like, there have been so many times where I've been so close, like 1 degree away from Michelle Obama, 1 degree away from Oprah, 1 degree away from Robert F. Smith. But because, they're gatekeepers, and because I'm not a part of the elite, I don't have access, to those types of people or places. And it's really been a fight. It's been a fight to keep scholarships alive. And I'm hoping that one day we go from surviving to fully thriving.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. So, so what are some of the next steps for ScholarCHIPS and for you?
Yeah, so for ScholarCHIPS, we are actively, working in that transition from a founding board to a governing board. Like, we literally on Sunday, we just, the board, we had a special meeting that was separate from our regular board meetings, where we discussed this transition that we're making and how we're going to launch and when we're going to launch our nomination and vetting process and cycle for a few new board members. We're filling out our matrix and board profiles to figure out what are the skills and the demographics that are missing on the board that we really need to really continue to build, to make the vision of the mission of the organization a reality. And we got into we were accepted into an organization called Fair Chance. And last year we were a partner with Fair Chance for 6 months through their Pathways partnership. This year we're a partner with Fair Chance for their Praxis partnership, which is a year-long partnership. And they are a capacity building organization that works with small grassroots organizations who serve youth and children who live in poverty. So they have been absolutely amazing. They are, walking me through the hard questions and things like succession planning. I'm hoping that we get into the Georgetown program, Net Impact. Georgetown University has a program called Net Impact through their MBA program. And if we get into that program, I've proposed that 3 to 4 MBA candidates come on and sort of shadow the board for about 6 months, and that they will help us help us to develop a 3 to 5 year strategic plan. So we are I'm putting in we're putting in the hours and trying to figure this thing out, because I think for me I've had to really face the woman in the mirror, Bethany, and I have asked myself hard questions. Like, if you die tomorrow, Yasmine, what impact have you had on the world? What will be your legacy? Do you have you put things in place so that scholars, so that your younger brothers and future children, that they will have an inheritance? These are things that people have done for years, that I believe I'm here to be a generational curse breaker, a generational cycle breaker. That I'm here to, that I'm here to really help people, particularly young people, children with incarcerated parents, but just to help people to get to their next, to break out of cycles of poverty and incarceration and get to their next level of success. But with this pandemic, it's really brought into question it has forced me even more to think about how I want my legacy to be and impact. That's pretty much where I'm at. Like, I used to be a plus size model. Well, not used to, I had a contract with an agency. Wow. And like, from the outside, modeling looks so glamorous. but it does that, you know, they make it look so
totally
glamorous.
does. I laugh because you proceed it with from the outside. I'm guessing on the inside it's not quite.
It's the modeling industry and the fashion industry has a lot of biases internally, and like for the few Black and models of color, for the few of us, it's only a handful of how do you say, clothing lines and clothing companies that will actually hire us. And when we are hired, the pay is not that great. Sometimes it's usually not that great. It's not the same. You know, you don't see, in plus size models, oh my goodness, you don't see us working for Gucci and all of the high name brands. You don't see us on Vogue and the, you know, it's, you know, the industry has come a long way, but I say all that to say, I have come to realize that I'm not here to work for make other people money. If I am making money, it is to empower other people, not to be used as a tool and as a toy to be, you know, to make profit for people who don't care about me. Who absolutely don't care, don't have respect, don't respect, you know, my purpose, don't respect that I have intellect, don't respect that I'm educated, don't respect none of it, absolutely none of it. I discovered that because, I will tell you this, Bethany, and I've never said this publicly, I asked for a non-exclusive contract and I was faced with complete rejection. I had to argue. And I said to myself, this makes no sense. I should not have to argue when I have my own agency, and I should be able to say what I like. In any business relationship, there should be a mutual benefit and agreement. And if the benefit is one-sided, right, I don't have to take that. But a lot of people who are people of color and plus size, we feel so grateful and so blessed just to get through the door that we'll take any kind of treatment. No, absolutely not. I'd rather struggle and build up scholarships than, like I said, make profit for people who don't care about me and don't pay well. And it's to really, honestly, a lot of models are just dollar signs to people, and that's not cool. And so I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to be a representative, you know, for people of size. And I don't even know how I got on this because we weren't even talking about this. We were talking about scholarships. But yeah, man, Bethany, I'm telling you, this pandemic has had me thinking so deeply about everything about the world, like everything that's wrong with the world, everything that's right with the world, and how I can make things better.
So what are some of the things that you've come up with over the course of, well, particularly the pandemic, but what are some of the things that you hope to achieve in this lifetime in terms of legacy?
Oh, yeah. Good. That's a good question. Well, one, I want to leave some type of inheritance for my brothers. I have two younger brothers, and my, you know, prayerfully, I someday I will have my own children, biological children. I have a lot of like spiritual children, and I one of my biggest goals is to establish an endowment for scholarships, like a major endowment for scholarships. I don't know how it's gonna happen. I don't know how it's gonna come because I'm currently not a wealthy individual. And when I say inheritance, you know, I don't have a lot. I really don't. I come from little to nothing, and you know, I'm just trying to find my way. But if I can at least, you know, get a house or a condo, you know, I'll leave that to them. I'll leave them whatever monies I have. I'll leave that to them. Like I'm not the. I think that when I was younger, I was more concerned with name recognition and brand recognition. I was more concerned with, like, I think I had a certain perception about success. I had a certain perception about what success is and what success looks like. And for me right now, success is legacy. It has, to me, if I never become world, international, nationally famous, if I never become a multimillionaire or billionaire, if I never do certain things, it's okay. Like I have really come to that realization, that it's not about, and I've come to the realization that it's not about validation from with prizes or awards. It's just about what I can do with the resources I have and how I can utilize those, and also merge maybe my resources with other people. Like one thing I've seen that I love in in my community in particular, in DC, is giving circles. I love that concept of giving circles, of people who have, minimal to, decent resources, putting them all together and distributing them to causes and organizations that are training and teaching and educating our children and our teenagers. Like it is a beautiful thing. And I hope that one day maybe I can be a part of a giving circle. And lastly, I hope that I can get to a point in life where I don't have to ask a board for permission to give scholarships. Or to hire a PR agent. I just want to be able to do it all. I want to write if I want, hear a student story on TV, or on the street, I meet someone and they say, they tell me about what they're trying to do and they just don't have the money. I want to be able to write them a nice check, and say, okay, well, I won't necessarily just write a check and hand it to them right there. Maybe not, but like have the ability and the agency to be able to just bless people like that. Like that's what I want. That is what, if I could, the ultimate idea for me to be and to do is that.
That's awesome. I love that. Very cool. And so how can people help?
Yeah, so please visit ScholarCHIPS website. It's www.ScholarCHIPS, and chips is with a C as in chocolate chip cookie, chips, CHIPS, fund, FUND.org. So that's scholarchipsfund.org. You can donate through PayPal. There is a button a bright yellow button on our homepage that says donate. You click it and you can make a secure donation, or you can send a check to our P.O. Box. That's P.O. Box 56404, Washington, D.C. 20040. Or you can also register on our website. You can sign up for our newsletter. And if you would like to become a mentor to one of our scholars, send us an email, hit the Contact Us tab on the website, and we will get back with you shortly.
That is fantastic. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Yasmine. It's really good to see you.
Thank you, Bethany.
Talk offline because I have a couple of folks I want to connect you to. But it's been wonderful chatting with you, and hopefully this pandemic will be over very soon and we'll all just be able to have one big giant party.
I know. I cannot wait. I'm missing people. I'm missing going out.
Yeah, it's been all right. Anyway, well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please consider donating to ScholarCHIPS, and I will see you all next time. All right, bye.
Bye.